Hello and welcome to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. My name is Issacharbey and I am the senior director. And I am also your teacher for this series. I want to thank all of you for tuning in same time every Sunday for another great session that we have planned for you today. I want to thank all of you for continuing to be on this journey for the money manifestation mindset. You know, what's very interesting is I'm pretty sure all of you guys have heard about the stock market crash that we had this past week. And I thought it was very interesting because, you know, a lot of people would panic and get upset about something like that. But I want you to know that when things like that happens, that's when millionaires are born. That's when the stocks, the things that were at a high price come down, and now it's a good time to buy. They always say you buy when it goes low, you sell when it goes high. And so many of us who are on our money manifestation mindset, there's no greater time for you guys to think about to start investing or think about getting in the stock market or thinking about how can I expand my financial territory. Why? Somebody says to me, money isn't everything. You know, money doesn't, make everything go right. You know, I've seen people with a lot of money who have a miserable life and so forth. And I understand that. But one thing I will say is that money answers all things. You would want to have the problems of having too much money than the problems of not having money at all. You would want the problems of having so much money that you don't know what to do than to need money and not have it. And so we are excited about our future. We are within the ramifications of the Lionsgate portal. And we've also have a lot of things going on in this month of August. And we are looking in a new perspective of how to position ourselves into what it is that we're doing, being. A lot of people reached out to me about their their money magnet mirror boards. That's what we call them. And a lot of you reached out to me and told me some things. And I want to do a little bit of a continuation, not talking about that, but kind of add on to something else that I personally work with that has been phenomenal for me. I also use it with clients when they come to get consultations. So you see, what's important too is that you have somebody that's an accountability partner. I received emails too about some people who have gotten consultations from me in the beginning of the year, and one of the clients was telling me that everything I told her down to the date has happened exactly the way I told her that it was going to happen, and at the time it was going to happen. When you are in a position to make moves, to do things that you want to do, and when you want to manifest things, you must be strategic. You must have a plan set in place. And I'm an advocate of being able to put yourself in a position to win. You know, I'm an advocate for that, and I believe that we can be in the right place at the right time to experience the right circumstances. And I believe also that if the circumstances that you want to experience are not present, we have the ability to create them. I believe that. I believe it. I believe that we have the ability to be, to do, to have all of our heart's desires, and that the only person that can stop us is us. There's nobody else that can stop us but ourselves. And as you begin to use these tools and begin to move and operate, you will see some amazing things happening. I just believe that nothing happens by mistake. And I hope that everybody's listening to me when I'm saying this. I believe that the success, the financial abundance, everything that you are manifesting and bringing into fruition, it will not happen by mistake. And I'm telling you, it's no greater feeling in the world to experience something that you manifested, that you actually brought into fruition, and it happened on purpose. You knew what you were doing. You knew that you didn't know the way it was going to happen, but you knew this was my intention was. This is what I'm expecting. This is what we are preparing for. We are getting ready for the transformation of what I had in my mind, my thoughts, my concepts, and I'm transforming them into my physical reality. That's no greater feeling in the world for that to happen and you to realize the power that you possess. Because once it happens, you can say, oh, my God, now that this has happened, now I know I can do it all the time now. Now I know that I have the power within me to make and to manifest my life's goals, my experience. And so we are excited about that. I got quite a few things I want to cover today as we move another plateau, another dimension in our money manifestation mindset series. Those of you that are listening, I want you to get into a quiet place just for the next few moments remaining before us. And I want you to get into a place where you can close your eyes and quiet your spirits, quiet your minds, and just get into a quiet place and get into a stillness, a quiet and a stillness where you can allow your mind to be still for these remaining moments. And take a deep breath, inhale, and exhale. Once again, inhale, and exhale. Once again, inhale, and exhale. There is one infinite mind, one creative intelligence that governs all of life. The divine power is the source and substance of all that exists. It is the infinite presence, the unseen force, and the supreme law that moves through all things. This power is perfect, whole, and complete, and it is ever present, guiding all creation in its perfect order. In this moment, I recognize that this divine intelligence is at the center of my being. It flows through me as me, expressing itself in every thought, word, and action. I am a unique expression of this infinite mind, and I am forever connected to its wisdom, love, and guidance. I affirm now that life is a continuous flow of good. And the wheel of fortune symbolizes this eternal movement. Just as the wheel turns, bringing new experiences, opportunities, and growth, I trust that the divine presence guides each turn of the wheel in my life. I know that every phase, whether it appears to be up or down, is an integral part of my spiritual evolution and growth. I release any sense of fear or uncertainty about the future, knowing that the infinite mind is always operating in my favor. Every turn of the wheel is a step towards greater understanding, deeper love, and higher consciousness. I embrace change with grace and ease, knowing that it is simply the divine expressing itself in the new and wonderful ways. I declare that my life is filled with divine order, balance, and harmony. I trust in the perfect timing of the universe, knowing that all is unfolding exactly as it should. The wheel of life is turning in my favor, bringing forth abundance, joy, and prosperity in all areas. With deep gratitude, I accept this truth in my consciousness. I am at peace knowing that the divine is always with me, guiding every step, every turn, every experience, and I release this word into the law, knowing that it's already done, and so it is, and so it is. Once again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. We are continuing with our lecture, our teaching today on the money manifestation mindset. It's the series. If this is your first time locking in with us today, please tell us what city, what state, what country you're listening from. Also, if you can, please hit the like button and also subscribe to this channel so that you can be updated on all new things that are going to be released, all new teachings, anything that we have going on, you will be notified. So definitely, please, by you guys hitting the like button, it does give us the opportunity to raise our algorithms. And once we are able to raise the algorithms, it allows us to become more visible and allows us to be seen by people who are of this like-mindedness. And so it just helps us to expand our territory. And we gratefully appreciate all of you who do take the time to just hit the like button. We are in a very interesting time, as I just said earlier, about what we're seeing in the stock market, what we're just seeing overall getting ready to come into place. I said last week that you have to be somewhat focused because of the things that will start to happen that can be a major distraction. And we don't want to be distracted. We want to be in a place where we can now move into the understanding and the development of becoming financially abundant. Last week, we talked about the money magnet mirror board, and we talked about how this board that we created is like a mirror, and that we're able to put this board together on the things that we want to manifest, the things that we want to put into fruition. And I kind of want to piggyback off of that and show you another technique that I also use that has given me great success, but it also has changed the dynamic of my consciousness. I wanted to share this with you because I think that it would be very profound and very insightful and inspiring to those of you who will use it to manifest, to bring into fruition those things that you want to manifest and experience in this life that we are living. Today I want to talk about the Wheel of Fortune. Now, when I say the Wheel of Fortune, everybody automatically probably thinks about the game. Everybody thinks about, when you are spinning the wheel and the wheel lands on certain things and you get the prizes. And, those of you, I lived in Vegas for many years. Those of you that play, they have the video games and the slot machines with the Wheel of Fortune. And whenever we hear the Wheel of Fortune, we automatically think money. We think abundance. We just think of an overwhelming amount of money. But the Wheel of Fortune is a little bit more than just that. It's something that I look at being very important in developing your consciousness and your ascension as you get ready to shift. Listen, I believe it from day one until now that we've been teaching on this money manifestation mindset. I believe that every week our consciousness has shifted. Our level of understanding, our level of wisdom and knowledge has expanded. And we always know that once the mind expands, it can never go back to its original form. So we understand that our minds are being stretched and they're being expanded, and we can never go back into the way that we used to think, the way that we used to operate. But the Wheel of Fortune is something that I use in my counseling sessions. It's something that I use when I'm dealing with a person who doesn't know their purpose in life, who doesn't know who they are, who doesn't have a sense of identity, who says, I'm lost. I don't know how to maneuver and make this work. I just feel like my life is all over the place. I got the concept from Catherine Ponder. She has a book called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. I think everybody should get a copy of it. It's a phenomenal book. Anything by Catherine Ponder is solidified. It's a great read. I'll tell you this. I'm a person that likes to read books physically. So in my book, I have stuff highlighted. I have things. I have pages folded. I have all kind of stuff. So in this book, this is not just a book you read. This is a book you live, you breathe, you eat, you constantly. It's like your Bible, But The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity is a great. It's a great book. In the book, Catherine Ponder, she comes and illustrates for us a concept called the Wheel of Fortune, and the Wheel of Fortune it encompasses many areas of life, not just the financial prosperity, but when you get into the book and get into how she uses it, she begins to use it as a metaphor for the ever-changing cycles that affect your life, including health, relationships, career, spiritual growth. And she gets into talking about just as the seasons change, just as the tide rises and falls, so does the Wheel of Fortune turn. And I think that the concept was amazing. I actually took it and I actually redeveloped it into something that I felt was very profound and very necessary for those of us who are mental alchemists and those of us who are going to be moving into the place where we're now going to be transforming and putting our lives into this perspective. So the most obvious application for the Wheel of Fortune is the realm of money and abundance. But by keeping our wealth in circulation, right, we understand that when we talk about financial prosperity, as we talked about this week, we're talking about as far as investments and also many different forms of investments, whether it's real estate, stocks, entrepreneurship, all the different variations of investments, right? When we talk about the Wheel of Fortune, we talk about the will, understanding that will contains the power to turn our situation from being a negative to a positive, from being lack into unlimited, And so I want you to understand this. And this is what I want you to understand. When you hear the Wheel of Fortune and you look at it and you say, oh, my God, the Wheel of Fortune, many of you may have saw the topic today and says, oh, my God, he's talking about the Wheel of Fortune. I want to see what he's talking about. This is going to be great. And you got on here because you thought he was just going to be talking about how can you make money, how could you, and in retrospect we will. But I want you to realize that you are the Wheel of Fortune. You are the wheel. See, when you look at the Wheel of Fortune on the game, the people are spinning the wheel. And wherever the will lands determines what comes. But I want to get in today and talk about how you are your own wheel of fortune. Because if we look at the wheel of fortune from what it is, we would say, oh, well, my wheel spins as I was born. When you first came into this world, somebody spins your wheel, and it keeps spinning, and it stops, and then it spins again, and then it stops. And as you go through life, you go through all these different things. But you feel like somebody else is controlling that wheel. I want you to know that from today forth, you are now controlling the wheel of your own fortune. Now, Captain Ponder, we're going to go through the steps and the different layers. Captain Ponder breaks her wheel down, her wheel of fortune down into different sections. So she deals with health, well-being, where she also looks at that just as your financial life has ups and downs, so does your physical health. We know that health is wealth, and by aligning your and also by aligning yourself with the rhythm of life. And I said this before, everybody's life has a rhythm. Everybody's life has a rhythm, and that's why a lot of us, maybe some of you who are listening, you just say, I just feel like my life is off. I'm not on beat. I'm off. And so you can't look at somebody else and try to get on the beat that they're on, because everybody has a different rhythm. And so you need to find your rhythm and allow your rhythm to connect. Allow yourself to stay and connect with your rhythm. Everybody has a different rhythm. When we talk about aligning ourselves, we want to be in a position to where we maintain a mental health, our psychological health. We're in a place now where we see mental health as something that's extremely important now. We need to be able to do that. We need to be able to expand and make sure that we are mentally healthy, because the mind, as we all know about a few weeks ago, we talked about this, is the most powerful asset that we have. The mind. Your mind is the most powerful asset that you have. So if you're not mentally right, if you're not mentally healthy, it's going to be a problem, because the mind is where we begin to build and create and begin to move into this levels of consciousness. Now, Catherine Ponder also talks about relationships. She talks about the importance of relationships when you're talking about the Wheel of Fortune. Why? Because if you talk to anybody who's rich or successful, they will tell you about their relationships, about the people they have met, about I just ordered a new book. I can't think of the author right now, but when I get it in the mail, I'll tell you who it is. It's a book called How to Walk in a Room, right? And it's talking about that when you start elevating and moving in your level of consciousness, you change the rooms that you're in. But when you walk in the room, we ought to know how to read the room that we're in. Every room is different from the other rooms. There's no rooms that are the same. Some rooms you can't get into because you don't have the wherewithal. You don't have the invitation. Some rooms you can't walk in. You got to be invited in, right? And so when we talk about life, we're talking about being able to go into these rooms to network, to meet, to expand, and to grow everything that we're manifesting. Because everybody who's listening to me, no matter what you're trying to manifest, whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you're going to have to go in one of these rooms, because you're going to have to meet somebody who's going to be the person that you need to meet at the right place at the right time in the right situation in order to expand and do whatever it is that you're doing. So the book is called How to Walk in Rooms, and it's talking about the various different rooms. And when you get in a room, how to network, how to basically go in and begin to network and begin to build your relationships. And relationships are everything. We say this all the time here at the Temple of Enlightenment, that your friends are a resume of what you're going to become. So basically, I can look at who are your 2 to 3 to 5 friends that you have with you, and we can discover where you're going to go. Are you going to be going to? Are you going, you know, to this level, or you staying on the level that you are, or you may be going backwards, depending on your 5 friends. And so that's what we say. Your friends are a resume of what you're going to become. So we look at that as a gateway to see what exactly, who are you hanging with, who are you connected to. Why? Because you meet nobody in this world but you. We talked about this plenty of times, but the importance of relationships, and then career and your personal growth. Now, let me say this real quick, because I feel like I'm going to be all over the place today because there's so many different aspects to the Wheel of Fortune. When somebody comes to me and we get down to do a consultation, especially in the beginning, what I normally do is, you know, I usually, and this is not always astrological. This is always, sometimes people don't come to me for astrological. Sometimes people come to me and say, I have an issue, I need this, I need that. But one of the things I do as far as when a person is at a place where they're like, my life is falling apart, it's in shambles, and I don't know what to do, why am I doing it, where to go, I don't know how to do anything, I'm lost. What I do is I have a form that I created called the Wheel of Fortune, and on this form, it has it's a circle with lines on it, and it's like it almost looks like a pie, and each slice in the circle represents something. So I may have health, wealth, career, family, relationships, spirituality, health. All of these different aspects are in the circle, right? But they're sliced up like a slice of pie in the circle. And normally what I tell the person to do is I say, listen, I want you to go to every category in this Wheel of Fortune, every category, and I want you to number 1 to 10 how you feel you are in this area. So in the circle, you know, you draw a cross first, and then you draw another cross. And the circle may have 8 slices in it, and each slice is a part of your life. So you go to health, and you say, all right, how do you feel your health is from 1 to 10? And you may put a 2, you may put a 3. I might say, how do you feel like you are in your career? You might put a 7 out of 1 out of 10. I might say, how do you feel like you are in relationships? And you may say a 5. And then I may say, in your love life, how do you feel in your romance, in your love life? How do you feel you are? And you go around and you look at each area of your life, and you can see from 1 to 10, you can see where you need, based on your own breakdown, your own analysis, you can see where the issues are. You can see what needs to be done. And so it's really an awakener when you understand and utilize this, because what it does is it helps you to to really look at where you are now. And this is important because a lot of you are saying, you know, I tell everybody now, this is the time to get ready for 2025. You know, I started looking at some things for 2025. I started looking at some travels that I want to do. Starting to just look at what the heavens will declare regarding my life in 2025, and then, you know, what's going on with me. You know, I've given you guys so many golden nuggets. You know, one of the things I ask people now is, you know, what 52-day cycle are you in? And those of you, if this is your first time listening, we did a talk a couple of weeks ago about the 7 52-day cycles. Listen, it's probably one of the greatest secrets that has never been told. When you start working with the 7 52-day cycles, you'll see how your life really begins to change. But in retrospect to the Wheel of Fortune, I use that because it really allows you to really, and you can change yours. You can put whatever things you want to put in there. You can slice it up even more. Instead of 8 slices, you can make it 16 slices. You may not want to do 8. You may want to do 4. So it all depends on, but what it does is it gives you an evaluation of yourself to say, where am I? Where do I want to be? And so we understand that a wheel moves, it turns. And as it turns, it begins to move, and it goes and it turns. Catherine Ponder, in her book, she references that the Wheel of Fortune, in her concept, was that she created it that you would utilize it daily by practicing patience, gratitude, trusting in the process, understanding about, once again, the cycles, the cycles of life, the cycles, how everything has a cycle. Everything is moved in cycles. You grow from adolescence to, a teenager, and then you go into becoming an adult, and then you go into, everything happens in cycles. And so when you understand the Wheel of Fortune, that when you understand that you are your own Wheel of Fortune, you understand that, first of all, listen, there are no losses in life. There are only lessons. Another thing also, anybody who's listening to anything we've ever said in this teaching, we never got together to do this teaching to say we want to show everybody how to become millionaires, and once you become a millionaire, just forget about everybody else. No, we're showing you how to become a money manifesting, how to embrace your money manifestation mindset, because it's already inside of you. Everything that I've been teaching every week, I'm not teaching you guys anything new. I'm only bringing you back to remembrance of the knowledge and the wisdom that was already placed inside of you. In the realm of these metaphysical teachings, I believe that some people have to look at themselves as the Wheel of Fortune and say, wait a minute, I'm my own Wheel of Fortune. That means that nobody else has control over my life. I'm the wheel of my own fortune. That means that I'm no longer waiting for somebody to come by and help me. I'm no longer waiting for the right time or the right place or the right opportunity, but I'm in control. Some people believe the Wheel of Fortune is seen as a symbol of fate or luck. But it's a representation of the universal laws of cause and effect, of cycles and circulation. These laws dictate life in understanding the periods of growth followed by the times of contraction, much like the turning of a wheel. The key insight would suggest that the power of the wheel of fortune is in the fact of who the person is who turns it. I mean, that's it right there. The power in the wheel of fortune is always going to be determined by the one who turns it. Who's turning your wheel? The idea that you are your own wheel of fortune means that you have the power within you to influence the cycles of your life. You have the power to influence the cycles of your life. One of the things I want everybody to get out of this is that you have to understand that if you're going to operate as a mental alchemist, if you're going to operate in a money manifestation mindset, you have to realize that you're not waiting for things to happen. You make things happen. You make things happen. I had a situation this week where a gentleman who's in the I Am Money group, he was having some issues with his credit. And he was having a difficult time, and he came to me, and he had some things on his credit that he couldn't get off. And he was telling me that, they told me that, they can't remove it because of this, and they can't do this, and they can't do that. And so I said to him, listen, man, you are the creator of your own destiny. You are the architect. You don't wait for somebody to tell you when you can and cannot do things. You have the ability to do whatever it is that you need to do. And I told him, I said, this situation is going to teach you the power that you have within. And so basically, I showed him how to, in retrospect, turn his own wheel, how to turn his own wheel of fortune. And within, I think, 72 hours, which is 3 days, he was able to remove those items off of his credit report. So when we understand the wheel of fortune and that you have the power within you to influence the cycles of your life, you understand that this power is activated through your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, and which will set the will in motion after you put in your positive intention to direct the will. When you have consistent positive action, you can always assure that the wheel of fortune will always be turning in your favor. Because if the wheel is turning, which direction is the wheel going? There's so many questions. I really could have did a whole thing on this. The turning of the wheel. Why are you turning the wheel? What does it mean when the wheel turns? You are the wheel of fortune, which means that nobody else controls your fortune but you. And when you realize that you are the wheel and you realize that you have the power to turn the wheel, that no matter what is standing in your way, what you feel like you didn't have access to, what you feel like maybe you don't deserve, maybe it's not for me, whenever you break out of those shackles of disbelief and of uncertainty and of fear, and you begin to turn the wheel of fortune, you'll begin to see that your fortune will begin to change as you turn the wheel. Your empowerment comes from understanding that you are not a passive participant in life, but that you are an active creator of your own reality. God. Your thoughts and your beliefs will teach you that as you plant these seeds, you will eventually bear the fruit in your life circumstances. To turn your wheel of fortune towards prosperity, you are cultivating your thoughts on abundance, success, gratitude. And what you focus on mentally will eventually manifest in your external reality. Recognizing your life's seasons. I have a talk on, I think it's lessons in wisdom. If you go on the Temple of Enlightenment page and you look under lessons in wisdom, I think there is a teaching I did called the 4 Seasons of Life. I would tell everybody to go and listen to that. Life operates in cycles, and understanding this helps you to navigate the ups and downs with grace. and understand that no downturn or downward position is permanent. It is simply a phase before the wheel turns back up. Now, you have to keep in mind that, and this happens all the time, everything we are teaching here at the Temple of Enlightenment Center is for you to grow and evolve. When we start talking about money manifestation, when we start talking about, I'm going to put together a money magnet mirror board, and I'm going to start utilizing the 752 days period, and you start utilizing all this stuff, you have to realize that when events and things happen in your life that you may deem not as good, you have to realize that these are not things to break you down or to stop you, but these things are actually to push you. Because you can't say, I want to be successful and famous and I want to be rich and wealthy, and not understand that there may be some things inside of you as far as your conceptual thinking, your belief systems, maybe some of the people that you hang around, maybe some of the habits that you have that need to be broken. And sometimes situations and circumstances will come into play that will help you, prolong you, to push you out of the things that you don't need to be in. And you may look at that as negative and say, oh, this is not going the way I thought it was going to go. Listen, nothing is going to happen all the way good all the time. Life is in cycles. There's ups and downs. But I can guarantee you, anybody on this call who's ever been down and then up and then down again, you understand that when you were down, you understand that there was a learning process. It was like, I learned this, I learned that, and you'll look back and says, I'm glad for all the days that I went through everything I went through, all the days that I was down, all the days that I took a loss, all the days that I didn't have it, and I had to grind, and I had to struggle, and all those days. Why? Because it made me who I am. It showed me my strengths. It showed me that there was much more in me than I ever thought I could be because of the quote-unquote negative situations and circumstances. The same thing with the wheel of life, the wheel of fortune. When you understand that you're going through this financial transformation, you have to understand, just like the gentleman, right? He's going through a situation to where he knows that he wants to be in the right position to do the things that he wants to do. Why? Because he's stepping into entrepreneurship. He wants to be able to get business funding. He wants to be able to get personal credit. He wants to be able to expand his territory for what he's getting ready to do. And so in the turning of the wheel of fortune for him, he's looking at the situation and say, oh my God, man, I have this stuff on my credit. They're telling me they can't take it off. They're telling me this, they're telling me that. And so he's looking at it as a negative connotation, when in fact, when you go into this, it's a learning factor. It's something now that you know. It's something that you've learned now. So now you can take that knowledge and that wisdom, and you can now pass it off to your children, to anybody else, to help them get out of the position that you were in. The spinning of the wheel of fortune is moving. And so as your wheel moves, we're looking at health. Yes, I had health challenges. Yes, I was sick. And yes, I wasn't really on my health regimens like I should have been. But guess what? The wheel of fortune is turning. So now I'm eating healthy. Now I'm getting up every day and I'm walking 2 to 3 miles. Now I'm drinking more water every day. I'm taking vitamins, and I'm trying to really get myself in a position. And I went and got all my blood work done with my doctor to check everything out, all of my vitals. Why? Because I want to make sure that I'm in the right place at the right time. I don't want to manifest all of this stuff and then I'm sick. I can't enjoy it. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm in the right place at the right time. Those of you who are in relationships, this is extremely important, because as your wheel of fortune is turning, as the wheel is turning, you're in a relationship. How can I bring my partner and I get more closer together? How can we operate as one and not two? How can two come together? How can we come together and merge as one? Because as my wheel of fortune is turning, I want to incorporate my partner in this, because I want them to experience my growth, my evolution. I want us to do this together. My children, my family. And so it's extremely important that we understand the relationship aspect of this thing, how important it is, your spiritual growth. Remember that everything that happens from the inside also happens outside. That wheel of fortune must turn inwardly first. Everybody must tap into that internal wheel of fortune. You are the will. You are the will. And once you recognize that you are the will, you'll begin to understand that you control your own fortune. You are the will. I believe that I've always said this, that when you operate in consciousness and you lock in with the divine mind and you lock in with who you are, I always believe in divine timing. Faith and patience teaches us that trusting in the process and timing of the universe is crucial. Sometimes your will may turn more slowly than you would like, but maintaining faith ensures that it continues to move in the right direction. Yes, sometimes the will may not move as fast as you want it to move, but it's moving. And sometimes you have to trust the process. That's why I tell all of you all the time, you're not worried about how you're going to walk into the things that you're manifesting. You're not worrying about whatever you put on your money magnet mirror board. You're not worrying how is this going to come into fruition. How am I going to meet the man that I'm the spouse that I'm manifesting in? How am I going to meet the love of my life, my spouse, my soulmate? You can't. You will block yourself out of it by figuring out how it's going to happen. Once you put it on your mirror board, you're not worrying about the process of how it's going to happen. You're trusting in the timing. You're focusing on the fact that this is already happening, and so what's really the power here is you already accepting the fact that everything that you see on that board has already come to fruition. As you turn the wheel, your wheel of fortune, you realize that, wait a minute, I'm in control of my own fortune. I'm in control of the fortune. Yes, even the cycles of life, when things go up and down, you still have the ability to control, yes, life. I've always said this, don't let life live you. You live life. You tell life how you want to live. We don't want to live a reactionary life. What does that mean? That means that things happen in life and we react to it. We wait around for life to give us things to react to. Whereas we want life to react to us. We want to give life things to react. We want to tell life, yes, I'm going to Thailand. Yes, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to create this new business. I'm going to do this. We're going to set up and bring in X amount of employees. These are the things that we're putting in perspective. So you want to make sure that you understand you are your own wheel of fortune. One of the things that those of you who are in deep metaphysical occult studies, when I first got the concept, and what's amazing to me is by me being in tune with what we're doing, I sit down maybe every week and starts to think, what direction am I going to go in now? How are we going to move the needle? It seems like every week we get to such a great place. And when Spirit gave me the concept of the Wheel of Fortune to teach it now, because I've already been operating with this, but to teach it now, the first thing that came to me was the Wheel of Fortune tarot card. And many of you who are into the tarot, the Wheel of Fortune is one of the major arcana cards in the tarot deck. and it's steeped in rich symbolism and deep meaning. As one of the most significant cards in the tarot, it represents the concept of fate and the cycles of nature, of life, and the forces that shape our destiny. The Wheel of Fortune tarot card is typically depicted with a large wheel as its center, surrounded by various symbols that represent the different aspects of life, fate, and universe. At the center of the card is the large wheel, which is often divided into sections marked with symbols. The wheel itself represents the inevitability of change. It reminds us that it is in a state of perpetual movement, and that everything is subject to the forces of time and fate. Now, let me tell you this. Those of you, I'm just breaking down the symbolisms of the card, but I want to tell you that time is something that we cannot stop. We cannot stop it. We cannot change time, but we have to learn how to manage it. That's what makes us great stewards. That's what makes us, is the ability to manage our time. Fate says that it's written, this is how it's going to happen. And so I believe that, and we need to talk about this, about fate versus free will. But when we talk about the will, and I tell you guys that you are the wheel of fortune, you are the wheel of your own fortune, you have the ability to create your own fortune based on your will. You are the will. What is the will? What element are you are? What's your wealth code? All of these things play out in how your will begins to turn. And then you don't want your will turning because you're trying to turn your will following behind somebody else. When that person is not who you need to be following, you don't need to follow anybody but you. That person doesn't have your wealth code. That person doesn't have your element. That person doesn't have your destiny, your calling. That person doesn't have the gifts and the talents that you have. In the tarot card, you see all kind of symbolisms. There's creatures, the Sphinx, typhoon. You see the four evangelists or the cherubims. You see the letters and the symbols of the will, and you see the Hebrew letters, Yahi Vahi, which is YHWH. You see the alchemy symbol for Mercury. And so, you know, the Wheel of Fortune card normally is depicted upon the changing of destiny. It's the cycles of life. It suggests that life is full of ups and downs and that we must be adaptable and open to the change. But with that being said, I want you to understand that you will control the change. You will control the fortune. I think one of the worst things in the world is to have to wait for somebody else to do what you need to do. I hate being in that position where you have to wait for somebody else, where you can't move until somebody else is there to give you an approval, or you can't move without somebody else being there or giving you the authority to do it. Because while that person is not there, you're stuck. And so you're waiting on somebody else. And so now your whole destiny, everything that you want to do, and it's very frustrating to have to wait for somebody else to do what you want to do and be who you need to be. And so that's why I'm telling you, and this may hit some of you may have to listen to this over again. You are your own Wheel of Fortune. You are your own Wheel of Fortune. Whenever you are some of you may use this card. You know, a lot of people, they every day they pull a card and see what comes up. But whenever you see the Wheel of Fortune card, it usually would talk about a sign of good luck, suggesting that they're entering a period of favorable change. It could indicate that fortune is on their side and that there are opportunities for success, wealth, or positive developments on the horizon. So normally when you see that Wheel of Fortune card come up, it normally would indicate that. So I'm just letting you know from that standpoint, this is what it's saying. But I want you to know that you need to start operating and moving in your Wheel of Fortune and moving your will so that, guess what? You can change your situation to a favorable situation, and that you can now create your own opportunities for success, wealth, and positive developments that will be coming on the horizon for you. As you move your will of fortune into 2025, what does it look like? This card, when it's pulled, indicates a significant turning point in the life where new opportunities present themselves, new chapters begin. It suggests being open for change and seizing the moment. This is a time for you to go with the flow, to trust the process. And so we always want to be ready to go with the flow, to trust the process. And it's very ironic how we're talking about this now, because those of you who are already put together your money magnet mirror boards and you have it in place, now you're going to begin to turn the wheel. And the will begin to activate and begin to start pulling those things into perspective as you begin to go with the flow now. And begin to flow and bring into perspective your Wheel of Fortune. When we talk about the Wheel of Fortune, the Wheel of Fortune represents every aspect of your life: your health, your wealth, your career, your family, your job, your children, your marriage. You want to be fortunate, favorable, and at a high level in every aspect of your life. You don't have to do everything at one time. But what you do want to see is where you are. What we do want to see is where we are. This is a very pivotal time for us as we get ready to move into a new year coming. I said this before. It just looks like it was January yesterday, and we're blank, and we'll be in January of 2025. Every aspect of your life, you are the Wheel of Fortune. Turn the wheel. If you don't like what you're experiencing right now in your life, and you feel like life is not giving you what you want to experience, you're not happy with your life, you're not getting the experiences that you want in life, you feel like, I've been putting in the work, I've been dedicated, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm not getting the return on my investment, I'm not getting the return on what I've been doing, turn the wheel. Turn the Wheel of Fortune. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Don't wait and say, well, it'll happen to me one day. Maybe one day it'll happen for me. Maybe if it's meant to be, it will happen. No, turn the wheel today. Turn your wheel and begin to move and turn your Wheel of Fortune. And begin to turn the wheels and watch how opportunities will present themselves. Watch how success and opportunities and all kind of new doors will begin to open, and you will begin to put yourself in a better position than you are now. Why? Because you begin to turn the wheel. you begin to turn the wheel of fortune. And you realize that some of us up until today may say, you know what? My will wasn't even moving. My will was at a standstill. Nothing was happening with my wheel of fortune. It wasn't even turning. It wasn't even moving. But now that I heard this today, I'm going to start turning my wheel of fortune. I'm going to start turning. I said this earlier in the teaching today. I said, the most important part of the wheel is not the getting the fortune or not the wheel turning, but the most important thing is who's turning it. You must turn your own wheel of fortune. You must be the one that turns the wheel. And some of our wheels haven't been turning. Some of our wheels are just at a standstill for a long time. But I summoned you today to turn your own wheel of fortune and begin to change the dynamics of your life. Begin to change the dynamics of your relationships. Begin to change the dynamics of your health. Begin to change the dynamics of your finances. Turn the wheel of fortune. Turn the wheel. And I just wanted to bring that up. Somebody listening today that says they want a new career, they want finances, they want career, they want so many different things. Your wheel of fortune will suggest, as you turn it, there could be a promotion, a new job opportunity, an unexpected financial gain. Somebody says, you know what? I'm tired of being alone. I want a spouse. I want to be in a relationship. I want you to turn that wheel of fortune today. And as you turn that wheel of fortune, what happens is that wheel of fortune can also create a new phase in a relationship. It can also bring you into a place that will allow you to meet new people, to make connections, to have the right person cross your path in life and come into your life. And so we believe that we have the opportunity to change our lives. I want you to take these teachings and begin to turn your wheel of fortune. Turn the wheel. Put it into perspective. Listen, the universe is so amazing to me. There's no greater time to turn your wheel of fortune than right now. When we saw the stock market crash, that's when I begin to see people's wheels of fortune begin to change. I begin to see the wheel of fortune. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, the stock market is crashing. Oh, no, it's the end of the world." No. It's the beginning. There's no greater time than the present. This is the time to start letting your wheels turn. Turn the wheel of fortune. Turn it. The only person that can stop your wheel from turning is you. And once you realize that and you know that, you will see things in a whole nother perspective, through a whole nother lens. And so I just wanted to drop that on you guys today. I didn't want to go too heavy, but I just wanted to give that to you because the wheel of fortune is powerful, and every one of us have our own wheels of fortune, and we operate in our own rhythms. I want you to get on your own rhythm. I want you to begin to turn your own wheel of fortune and watch how the dynamics of your life begin to change. Listen, those of you that are listening, if this message has been any kind of inspiration to you, please hit the like button. Just hit the like button for us. We want to give you the opportunity to be part of our circulation. What we call the circulation is we asking every listener everybody who's listening to this and say to themselves, I really enjoy this teaching. I really enjoy the things that you teach. We're asking you to sow $26, to donate $26 into our organization. That helps us with promotions, that helps us with getting the word out and pretty much expanding our spiritual center. And so there's 4 ways that you can give the $26 seed, the $26 donation. The first way is going to be Cash App. It's going to be $TOESC, $TOESC. And also keep in mind that all of the ways to give are in the bottom description, so you can always look down there and get the different ways to give as well. And then we have ZELLE and PayPal. ZELLE and PayPal are going to be connected to our email address, which is info, INFO, at TOESC.org. Once again, that's info, INFO, at TOESC.org. And then we also have our VENMO. Those of you that want to give using VENMO, VENMO is going to be issacharbey at gmail.com. Once again, that's ISSACHARBEY at gmail.com. Those of you that are saying to themselves, man, I really want to turn my wheel of fortune. I'm tired of being in the situation, in the circumstance that I am, and you feel like somebody needs to hear this, please share this teaching with them. Go ahead and hit the share button and share this with them. If you haven't done so, also subscribe as well. I like to say this before we always leave. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. And I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.